Do you remember the last day when life felt unusually lucky? Maybe nothing dramatic happened. You simply woke up steadier. Your body felt lighter. Your mind did not begin the morning by arguing with itself. You were not comparing, not forcing, not trying to outrun some invisible pressure. For a while, you trusted yourself, and then things began to move. A message arrived at the right time. A delayed payment came through. A conversation opened a door. Someone you had not expected to hear from suddenly appeared. A small problem dissolved before it could become heavy. From the outside, these moments looked unrelated. But from the inside, they carried the same quiet feeling. Life was not resisting you. Most people call that luck. But perhaps luck is not as random as we think. Maybe those unusually smooth days appear when something inside us stops fighting the current. No panic, no self-doubt, no desperate attempt to control every detail. Just an inner state open enough to recognize what has already been moving toward us. Luck, in that sense, is not a gift falling from the sky. It is what happens when your system becomes ready to receive. What if that state did not have to appear only by accident? What if being lucky was not a rare personality trait, but a way of living in steady relationship with your own inner vibration? You were born with the ability to become magnetic to good timing, helpful people, unexpected openings, and quiet forms of grace. The question is not whether life can support you. The question is whether your inner state has learned how to let that support in.
This is Momentum Arc, a space for inner exploration and spiritual growth. Your likes, comments, subscriptions, and super thanks do more than support this work. They help this energy reach more souls who are ready for real change. In 2004, the American spiritual teacher Esther Hicks published Ask and It Is Given, a book that became one of the most influential works in the modern conversation around manifestation and the law of attraction. The book presents the teachings Esther describes as coming through Abraham, a non-physical collective consciousness that speaks about desire, emotion, alignment, and the way human beings interact with the larger field of life. Whether one approaches that language literally or symbolically, the central message is clear. Emotion is guidance, and manifestation depends on alignment. That idea changed the way many people understood their relationship with reality. It suggested that thought is not merely private mental noise. Thought carries energy. Emotion gives that energy direction, and the outer world gradually becomes a reflection of the inner state we return to most often. One of the book's most important insights is this: the moment a desire arises, a corresponding possibility is also born. In other words, your longing is not empty. It is not a meaningless wish drifting inside the mind. When you truly desire something, you have already entered a relationship with it on the level of energy. The question is not whether the possibility exists. The question is whether you can become receptive enough to meet it. Hicks often compares this process to tuning a radio. The music is already being broadcast, but if the receiver is not tuned to the right frequency, all you hear is static. Manifestation is not about forcing the music to exist. It is about adjusting yourself until you can receive what is already available. This is why trying harder does not always bring life closer. If the effort is soaked in anxiety, fear, or the belief that nothing is working, that effort may only strengthen the very signal you are trying to move beyond. The practice begins by turning inward, not to escape reality, but to understand the state from which you are meeting reality. Look at your current life for a moment. Some parts of it may be the result of wishes you once held. Other parts may be the result of worries you repeated long enough that they became familiar. If you can see this, then the search does not have to stay outside you. You can begin returning again and again to the place where the signal is formed. Everything you desire may not be visible yet, but that does not mean it is absent. It may simply be waiting for you to become available to it.
Many people think luck belongs to a chosen few. Some receive blessings, others keep running into closed doors. But the deeper we look, the more luck begins to look less like favoritism and more like resonance. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this clearly. In the I Ching, there is a line often rendered as, "Things of the same tone respond to one another. Things of the same energy seek each other." When one string vibrates, another tuned to the same pitch begins to move. Luck works in a similar way. When your inner state harmonizes with trust, openness, and readiness, certain people, events, and opportunities become easier to meet. The world has not suddenly become perfect. You are simply no longer moving through it in a state of constant contraction. Indian spiritual traditions point to the same kind of order. The universe is not treated as a dead machine, but as a living rhythm. Seasons turn, tides rise, breath moves in and out. Life organizes itself through patterns we do not personally control. In the Bhagavad Gita, the deeper teaching is that when a person acts in devotion to a higher order, life begins to move with them. This does not mean every desire is instantly fulfilled. It means that when the inner being becomes steady, clear, and aligned with something larger than fear, the outer path begins to respond. That is the nature of luck. It is the visible sign of an invisible alignment. When you live long enough in trust, gratitude, and openness, the world seems to open doors more often. When you live in fear and resistance, even available doors can look like threats. So becoming lucky is not about chasing omens. It is about training the inner state that can recognize grace when it arrives. One person may receive a fortunate opportunity and miss it because the nervous system is too suspicious, too rushed, or too convinced that good things never last. Another person may notice the same opening, feel the timing of it, and step forward without overcomplicating the moment. Luck is not only what happens to you, it is the state from which you meet what happens. And when that state becomes stable, luck stops feeling like an occasional accident. It becomes part of the way life moves around you. What you are living through now may feel like the result of choices made this week or this month, but often it is also the echo of a state you carried long before this moment. Your current reality is not always a direct report on your current worth. It may be the delayed return of older beliefs, older fears, and emotional patterns that were repeated long enough for life to begin reflecting them back. A financial pressure, a repeated conflict, a project that stalls just when it seemed ready to move. These events can feel random, but sometimes they are echoes, older vibrations returning in a new form. That is why your first response does not have to be panic. When a pattern repeats, it may be more useful to ask, what state of being does this keep echoing back to me? In Ask and It Is Given, one of the essential teachings is that the universe responds less to what you say once and more to the vibration you consistently offer. Your life is shaped by the emotional tone you return to most often. This also means your outer world may not change the instant your inner state changes. Echoes take time. A sound released into a canyon does not return immediately. It travels, bends, and comes back later. In the same way, when you begin shifting into trust, the outer world may still show traces of an old frequency for a while. That does not mean nothing is changing. It means the new signal is still moving. Understanding this protects you from despair. You do not need to collapse every time an old pattern appears. You can recognize it as residue and say, this may be an echo of where I have been, but it does not have to become the blueprint of where I am going.
Life is not punishing you. It is reflecting the tone you have practiced. And because tones can change, the echo can change too. The moment you choose a new inner state with steadiness, the next echo has already begun forming.
If the present is an echo, then the deeper question becomes, what vibration keeps producing it? Many people want change. They want better relationships, more money, a wider life. But even while they desire something new, they keep returning to the same emotional baseline. They worry in the same way. They doubt in the same way. They expect disappointment in the same way. So life begins to feel as if it is repeating itself. This baseline vibration is not the wish you make when you feel inspired. It is the state you return to when no one is watching. It is the emotional climate your body believes is normal. Hicks teaches that every person carries a current point of attraction, a steady, energetic tone shaped by emotion, belief, and lived experience. You may call it mood, expectation, identity, or vibration. Whatever name you use, it becomes the hidden agreement between your inner world and your outer life. This is why wanting something is not enough. You attract most powerfully not what you want for a moment, but what you keep becoming. If you desire abundance but feel unworthy when good things approach, the signal splits. If you ask for love but expect abandonment, the body sends mixed instructions. If you pray for lucky timing but secretly believe life never supports you, the door may open and still feel unsafe. So the work is not to force happiness. It is to become honest about the baseline you have been practicing. When an opportunity comes, do you welcome it or immediately look for what might go wrong? When support appears, do you receive it or feel guilty? When life becomes easier, do you relax or begin waiting for punishment? These questions matter because they reveal the vibration that has been choosing on your behalf. Changing that baseline begins gently, a kinder sentence, a slower breath, a moment when you stop asking, "Why has it not happened yet?" and return to the feeling of being already held. One small act of trust will not change everything overnight, but repeated often enough, it teaches the body that a different life can feel safe. When your baseline changes, luck no longer feels like something outside you. It begins to feel like the natural atmosphere of who you are becoming. Once you begin noticing and adjusting your baseline vibration, life stops looking like a game of random chance. You are no longer simply waiting to see whether luck will visit you. You are becoming the kind of inner environment luck can enter. Being naturally lucky is not a personality type. It is not charm, superstition, or blind optimism. It is the result of emotional steadiness, clear belief, and enough openness for life to respond. You stop hunting for the method and begin becoming the source of the method. This is a practice, not something you perform once, but something you build through daily choices. Your thoughts, words, body, habits, and emotional responses slowly become the field through which life meets you. Start with a morning frequency ritual. Sit quietly. Write one line of gratitude. Stretch. Read a sentence that brings you back to trust. The point is simple. Set the tone before the world sets it for you. Then practice frequency guarding. When fear, jealousy, or irritation is triggered, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, which state am I about to return to? Use breath, writing, or a different sentence to step out of automatic response and back into choice. Build an environment that supports your becoming. Your surroundings amplify your state. Clear what drains you. Choose content that strengthens you. Spend more time around people whose words, energy, and direction remind you of the life you are growing into.
You can also keep an energy ledger. Each day, write down 3 moments when life flowed, helped, surprised, or softened around you. This is not naive gratitude. It is training your attention to notice evidence of support. Finally, give yourself a new identity sentence. Something simple. I am someone good things can find. I am someone who turns difficulty into direction. I am someone life knows how to support. These sentences are not fantasy. They are invitations. They tell the nervous system what version of you is now allowed to become. A lucky constitution is built this way, through honest attention, repeated choice, emotional care, and the willingness to become the signal you have been waiting for the world to send back.
At this point, the discussion can no longer remain conceptual. Luck is not a cold mechanism. Manifestation is not a mechanical formula. It lives in feeling. You may remember moments when joy filled the body so fully that time seemed to slow down. The air felt softer. The room felt warmer. You were not trying to manifest anything. You were simply present, alive, and receptive. In that moment, your inner state was already aligned with life. Hicks returns again and again to a central teaching. How you feel right now is your point of attraction. Emotion is not just a reaction to what has happened. It helps prepare what comes next. It colors what you notice, shapes the choices you make, and determines which possibilities feel believable enough to enter. A desire without feeling is only a sketch. Feeling gives it color, depth, movement, and warmth. Joy, ease, gratitude, and appreciation make the inner picture more vivid. They give the future a place to land. So instead of asking only, "When will my wish come true?" ask something closer. Can I feel some of its essence now? Can I allow a little more ease now? Can I appreciate what is already here without turning gratitude into performance? The future is being formed in the emotional texture of the present. This does not mean you must feel joyful every second. That would only create another kind of pressure. It means learning to return again and again to the states that open you. Relief, softness, curiosity, appreciation, trust. When love and gratitude become your baseline, your steps begin to meet more help. Not because the world has suddenly become magical, but because your attention, body, and choices are no longer organized around fear. That is what people call luck. It is not something waiting far away. It is a quality of alignment that becomes visible after it has been lived long enough. So do not wait for luck to arrive someday. Begin with the state you can choose now. Let one breath become steadier. Let one thought become kinder. Let one ordinary moment become enough to receive. Because the moment your spirit and your joy begin moving in the same direction, you have already started becoming the kind of person luck can recognize.